Hello YouTube, what is up? I'm here today with a video on how to respool your spinning reel and rod. And yeah, I'm going to try to make it as quick and simple as possible. So let's just start into it. Things you're going to need are going to be scissors. I'm going to need line, of course, new line. I'm using 10-pound trilene monofilament line. And you're going to need your rod and reel. Now the scissors are not mandatory, but you're probably going to want them because you don't want to be using your teeth or any other unorthodox methods to cut the line in certain places that you need to. So the way I usually unspool my reel when it's time is to, hold on a second, open up the bail like that, and then I take the line, grab it off the clip here. 1 second. Come on. There we go. So I open up the bail. I get the line ready to be pulled off. And from there, I just start pulling it off. So you just want to keep going until you get all of it off. You can do it the other way where you take and loosen your drag and pull it out, but really it doesn't make really any difference, and this way is actually faster. So I'm going to finish taking all this off and get back to you guys when my reel is empty. So just 1 sec. Okay guys, so after you get all your line off, the next step would be just to kind of clean up your reel, get it looking nice and shiny again, and nice and clean for the new line that's about to be put on. So there's some things to keep in mind though before you do this, and that is that you want to use a good knot. Uni knot or an arbor knot would be a good idea. Just use a decent knot, not like any overhand knots or anything, because if you ever get a fish that brings you down to the spool, which is pretty unlikely if you're freshwater fishing, but I mean in some places, you can get fish that are very big, especially if you end up fishing for carp or something like that. If you get a 30-pound carp or something like that, it might bring you down to your spool, and you want to have a good knot on there so that doesn't just snap right off. So it's just a good idea to have a good knot anyway, and just to practice your knot. So use an arbor knot, a uni knot, and you should be good. Now another thing to keep in mind is before you put on the line, you need to make sure to open your bail arm. You got to keep the bail open while you tie the knot and then close it afterwards, because if you don't, you're going to have to redo everything, and you're going to have to retie the knot because the knot has to be underneath the bail arm if you want to be able to actually reel in line. So remember, open your bail arm, then tie the knot, then close the bail arm. Another thing to keep in mind is also to thread the line, okay, at least through one of your eyelets, because if you don't do that, you're going to end up putting the knot on, and then you'll be like, oh wait, I have this huge thing right here that I can't put through this small eyelet. I have to, take off the knot again and then redo it. So those are two key things to keep in mind. Keeping open your bail. Well, firstly, threading it through at least your first eyelet on your rod is the first thing. And the second thing is to keep open your bail, then tie the knot, then close the bail. So those are the two most important things to keep in mind. And the third thing is to use a good knot. So I'm not going to show you how to do a uni knot or an arbor knot in this video, but I will probably do some other videos on that eventually. But you guys can look that up. There's plenty of videos on that already. Okay, so I've tied on the knot, and you can see it there. There's a little bit of excess line, so I'm going to cut that little tiny bit off. The scissors are for. And so once you get that off, you can then close your bail, and your line should be closed through your bail. Should be right there like that on that little indent piece there that keeps it held, and it should also be threaded through at least one of your eyelets. So if you've done all of that correctly and you used a good knot, then you are ready to actually start spooling up the line. So I'm going to get set up, and I will show you guys what to do. One thing to keep in mind is to make sure your knot is really tight to the spool. It doesn't, you want it to be nice and tight and flat against the spool itself. You don't want, like if you were to pull on the line, you don't want to see like a big triangle or a hole or something where the knot is. You want it to be tight down. So, okay guys, so now we're actually getting to the step of spooling. I have my spool down there. You can see it down there, it's positioned there. Now if you have a friend, it's going to be a lot easier to do. The spool down there actually has a hole in the middle, I don't know if you can see that. But your friend can put a pencil or something if you're there and just hold it while you reel in. If you're alone, hopefully you have a spool like I have where it can just come right off on its own. You can just set it down. But basically, you want to line up, you can see the eyelet down there that I have. You want to line that up straight above the spool if you're doing it alone. If you have a person doing it with you, it doesn't matter. Just make sure they are directly in front of you. And but if you're alone, you want to line up that first eyelet with the or whatever eyelet your line has started coming through with the actual spool. And then the second step is to take this line and keep a little bit of pressure on it, just a tiny bit, and make sure, because that will ensure that if there are any snags or anything of that sort or knots, that you can feel them and that you will be able to get them out. So then you're just going to start reeling in. Just make sure you keep a tiny little bit of pressure on there. A little bit of pressure, and yeah, just a little bit of pressure. Keep feeling it. You can also, if you don't want to actually just use your fingers alone, you can use a paper towel or just anything like that, a napkin, whatever. Also, I don't know if you can see this now, but I'm using my right hand. I'm using my thumb and my index finger to hold the line, while the rest of my right hand is holding on to the actual rod, and then my left hand is reeling in. So this method it's definitely a little bit harder to do it on your own, but it can be done fairly easily. But you just want to keep a steady pace. Don't reel overly fast. Just keep a steady pace, trying to get that line evened out. And you want to stop once it gets about, say, 1/8 inches, anywhere from 1/8 to 1/4 inches from the top. I mean, it kind of depends too, because sometimes if you put too much line on, you'll get the sort of thing where you'll take it off, you'll rig up whatever, and then all of a sudden it'll just go boom and explode, and your line will just come flying off if there's too much line on there. That also happens if you put too much pressure on, because the mono is all stretched out, and then all of a sudden it all tries to contract at once. So make sure you don't put too much pressure when you're reeling in, when you're holding the line. You just want to it's basically just a guide. You're really just kind of making sure that there's no knots in there. You don't want to put too much pressure on. A bad idea. So you want to keep going, keep going. Alright, so there we go. You can see that's probably about an eighth, actually, maybe a 16th. I might have put a little too much on there, but it's okay. If you do get any bird's nests or anything, you can just cut the extra line off. So from this step, you're going to keep the bail closed, keep your line. You're going to grab your scissors. Let me just grab these. Okay, and then you're going to cut right above where you're holding it. And there you go. It's all spooled on there. For now, I'm just gonna hook it onto the little line clip that's on here that I got on here. So yeah, that's really all there is to it, to spooling a reel. It's actually really simple. Now, if you do end up using this is for monofilament. For braid, it's another story. You got to do some extra steps if you're going to be using braid line. But for monofilament and fluorocarbon, even fluoro, you should probably should put maybe a tiny bit of mono backing first. But for mono, it's just that simple. You just really spool it up, and if you follow all the steps in this video, you should be ready to go. The next video you might want to watch is how to actually set up your fishing rod that I made a couple years back. It's a pretty decent video on how to just rig everything, just how to do a basic rigging of your fishing pole, getting it through the eyelets, blah blah blah, putting it on swivel, all that kind of good stuff. So check that video out if you need further if you need to know what to do next. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave a thumbs up if you liked it. Thumbs down if you disliked it. Definitely comment if you have any questions, because I will do my best to get back to you and answer them. So I'll catch you guys in the next one. Good fishing. Thanks for watching and have a great day.